Hey guys, Sridhar here. In case you are new, we are building Trott, an app that will save your reels. Today we are going to do a deep dive on the architecture part, the technical nitty-gritties. So let's get started. So our flow starts with the Instagram app. So you share a video and it goes through our app to the server where the processing happens, gets us an output and returns it back to, right? Yeah. So this is the basic flow. So you can either share a video through the Instagram app itself, or you can use the Trot app itself to share a video. So this is the high level functionality, high level architecture of what we are doing. Now let's go into the details, right? Let's just come down here. Okay. So the first part of our problem, right, is sharing of reels. So this is one of the parts that I'm still struggling with to get the architecture right to make the UX seamless. So let's talk about what are the challenges here. What are the things that I am facing? And in maybe the next videos, we can go and look at the code and some of the things that I do as the app evolves, right? But for now, let's just focus on what I have done and what are the challenges that I have faced. So the initial idea was I share a reel. And before that, what we did initially, the easiest stuff was copy a link, put it in the send to server, get response. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So this was our basic stuff. So what we did, copy the link, put it in the app, send it to the server and get a response. But what are the challenges we faced here? First challenge. So first challenge that we faced with this was bad UX. It was a very bad UX because it took you to the app and it prevented you from doom scrolling, right? And no one wants that. We want the user, or I want to keep scrolling, and the app should do its job in the backend, right? So one of the biggest challenge was the bad UX. So a second problem was, like, one of the problem was stops doom scroll, right? Second thing is copy and paste of links. So very cumbersome, right? So this was the initial challenge of our application. So what we did to mitigate it? So we moved solution to. So what we did was share a reel, open up activity. So second solution actually was the 1.5 solution. Let me just put it here, was we just automated the opening of app. So when you click on the share stuff, so a Trot icon appeared and you click on it and it would open up the app. But and you don't have to copy paste the link. So we were able to solve this problem here with this solution, right? But the problem still was, it was opening up the app. So this problem remains, right? Yeah, this problem remains. So to solve that, the second problem, what we did was the solution two. You share a reel, opens up a native activity. So this was a native activity. So we had to write two different pieces of code for iOS, and Android has more flexibility. So it can do a lot of other stuff, like it can share the intent and the data with Android easily. But iOS needs to have shared group. Even with shared group, there is some uh, limitations. So to solve this, what we did was we used shared preferences. So before we go to the reason of using shared preferences, let me explain you why the shared preference comes. So when you share the reel, opens up the activity, you submit the video and you get an ID. So basically this ID tells you the status of the video, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah. This ID tells you the status of the video. But now this ID needs to be forwarded to the app so the app can track the status of the video, right? So that's why we needed the shared preferences. So this is what was happening. Storing the shared preference, the ID, so that the ID can be tracked. Open up the app, what happens? It shows processing. The number of videos it shows processing is dependent on the number of items you have shared. So we are keeping of each ID, so we know exactly how much items we have shared and how much items are in processing. Now the processing part gets resolved when
push notification is received.
Initially, what we did was we were not keeping a store of the ID. We were just keeping the number, and we were depending on the push notification to come with the ID. So we know which video to load up in your feed and decrement the number of videos from our shared preference, right? Because technically, shared preference doesn't need to know which ID it is, because there was no polling or any kind of pulling from the app that was happening. App was waiting for the push notification. The server was responsible to push the data to the app, right? So this was the original plan. But what was the problem with this? So this is the part like I'm developing it right now. So now while we were having some issues with Apple, we were
Not receiving any notifications.
so the issue here was we were not receiving any notification. That led me to think, if we are only dependent on notification, the progress bar will never be resolved. And if for some reason there is a mismatch between the item that is tracked locally and the item that is being completed, because we are, well, let's say we are processing 5 videos, in our shared preference we have 5 videos that we are processing, and because we don't have any idea of them and we receive only 3 push notification, 2 videos will always show processing, right? And because we don't store the IDs, so even if we refresh or we restart the app, it will still show processing because we will have no method to resolve it. So to fix that, what I did was, as I said, we were storing. I wrote here I was storing ID, but it was not the case initially. So we switched to storing IDs, and second, what we did was we started polling.
So if there was IDs in shared preferences, we would do incremental back of polling.
So we will do incremental back of polling. This worked pretty good for the initial period, but one of the problem that I faced was while my enqueue function that I wrote, right, the one function which is responsible for handling the submission, was a bit slow. So I got confused, and I got into a lot of trouble with temporary IDs and tracking the real IDs, and there are different statuses that we are tracking, because if you are submitting, it could be that the video is already processing, or it could be that the video has been processed, or it could be that video that you are trying to submit but you don't have enough credits, right? So all this kind of status we needed to handle, and we needed to poll, and the architecture got very messy. So to solve that, basically what I'm doing now is, it is going to be similar to this, but it is going to be a bit more simpler. Solution 3, right? Final solution. No, let's not write final solution because I don't know if it's the final solution right now. Solution 3. So what I will be doing here,
Let me just zoom out of it. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is share from Instagram, submit video, show response. See? Add the response IDs and share preference for, yeah, for track those primary way, push notif, secondary polling every 5 minutes.
so in between, what I did was, because there was some, as I told you, right, my backend was a bit bloated, so it took about 2 or 3 seconds to get the response. So what I tried was, I tried offloading the task into a background process manager, which was pretty easy in Android, but apparently it is not possible, or it is not reliable in Apple. And so, like, I had to give up that method because of one of the reasons was not reliable in Apple. Second was, it was creating a lot of complexity regarding whatever state it is the backend is just sending back, be it processing, completed, failed, whatever it is, right? So what I did was, I leaned my backend up so it gives a response in 500 milliseconds. We'll talk about what I did in the backend in the next part, but I have made my backend leaner. So when you share the video, you get the response then and there. So if you're out of credits, you know it immediately, right? And if your video goes into processing state, then I am just storing those IDs. And when you open your app back up, you already have your IDs So first thing that it does is when it comes to back for foreground, it polls for those IDs and see if it is completed. If completed, well and good, just resolve those. If not completed, then it will wait for the push notification, because push notification is the primary way of resolving the pending processes, while the secondary process is for some reason the push notification doesn't arrive. So the secondary process, if there is anything that is pending, every 5 or 10 minutes, yeah, every 10 minutes actually, every 10 minutes I poll the backend to check if the status are done. Most probably it will be done in 10 minutes. All the progress processing videos should be completed. So this is the current flow. So I'm just working on this part right now to simplify this along with the backend. So that's it for this video. Let's continue in the next video. We will go a bit more deeper into other segments.
See you later. Take care.